everybody and welcome to your topic lesson for today. We're going to start today's lesson by reminding ourselves of what a climate zone is. So what is a climate zone and how is it different to weather? We spoke about this last lesson in our lesson on polar regions. So if you look outside today, what is the weather like in London? Can you tell me? It might be a little bit rainy, it might be cold, it might be windy, maybe there's a little bit of sun. So the weather tells us what it's like that day. So what is a climate zone? A climate zone tells us what a place is like all year round. So it's not just the weather that day, because the weather changes from day to day. What is the pattern of weather throughout the whole year? Does it have seasons? Is it cold at a particular time of year? Is it sunny at a particular time of year? Let's revise the climate zones that we have learnt so far. Can you remember the names? Pause the video, tell someone at home. The first one we're going to do is the tropical climate zone. Can you remember what that's like? Let's see if you remembered. It's humid, wet and hot, and it also has lots of rainfall. Remember, rainfall is how much rain a place gets, how much rain falls. It might sound strange for a place to be hot and also very wet, but if you've been to a tropical place, it feels very hot all the time, and when it rains, the rain is a little bit warm. Humid just means how the air feels. In a hot place, you might feel the air is a little bit sticky because it's full of water droplets. Our next one is you've got it, subtropical. Do you remember we had our lesson on that a few weeks ago? It was very sandy there, lots of sandy deserts. So these places are hot and dry. Next one, temperate. We live in a temperate climate. Let's find out what that's like. It has 4 distinct seasons without extreme climates. Can you remember our seasons? We have spring, yep, good job after spring. Summer after summer. Autumn and after autumn. Winter. So what is it like in these 4 seasons? Pause the video and remind yourself. So in spring, it can be quite wet and we have lots of things growing, lots of new life. In the summer, how does it change? Yeah, it gets much hotter in summer and normally drier. In autumn, it starts to get colder as we're heading towards winter, but it's still quite sunny and often very windy. And the last one in winter, it's much colder than the rest of the year, but we don't get much snow, even though we had some a few weeks ago. So it's not an extreme climate because it's not extremely hot like the tropical or subtropical, and it's not extremely cold like what's this one going to be? I'll give you a clue. It's around the North and South Pole. We call these the polar regions. Also another trick to remember, where polar bears live. What's it like there? That's right, it's very cold and dry throughout the year. Do you remember last week we said polar regions are also examples of deserts, which some of you are surprised at. Normally we think of deserts as sandy, like in the subtropical areas. How are these two areas similar though? Subtropical and polar, do you remember? That's right, they're both very dry. I'm going to underline them. And neither of them get very much rain. So that this one gets a lot of snow, but not really much rain. And the subtropical areas, they don't get much rain either. But the difference is this is a hot desert and this is a cold desert. Today, we are going to be learning to describe the climate and features of an area with a tropical climate, and we'll spot where it is on the map in a minute. Before we start, we're going to read through some of the words that we'll come across today. If you'd like to, pause the video and have a go at reading them. The first one says, rainforest. Do you know what that is? So it's got the word forest in it. What does a forest look like? A green area with lots of trees. We have those in London, but we don't have a rainforest in London. So a rainforest is a forest which has a very rainy and hot climate. The next one is humid, when the air is hot and sticky because it's full of water droplets. Rainfall, how much rain somewhere gets. Temperature, can you remember that one from last week? It's how what? How hot and how cold somewhere gets, and we can measure it. The next one says, can you read it? Canopy. We'll come across that one later. Really important. We can find it in the rainforest. Layer. What is a layer? If you're eating a cake, what are the layers of a cake? That's right, it's the different parts of a cake. So you might have the top layer and the bottom layer with a jam layer in between. The next one says emergent. This G is pronounced as a J. And the last one says understory. So the canopy, the emergent and the understory are all layers in the rainforest. Where do you think the understory might be? There's a trick to remember, under. Where do you think it will be? At the top, middle or bottom? That's right, it's at the bottom of the rainforest. We'll learn more about those layers later. Habitat. You learnt this in year 2. What is an animal habitat? That's right, that's where they live. Can you think of any examples? Pause the video and name some. Where can animals live? Maybe they live in the desert. Maybe they live in the forest. Maybe they live in a tree or in a burrow or in a coral reef. They are all examples of habitats. And the last one is wildlife. So anything that lives in the wild. They're wild and they're living, so they're called wildlife. We're going to spot where all the different climate zones are on this map. So you have an imaginary line going around the world. We've done this before. It's not a line painted along the earth. It's something that we have created, invented, to show us where the hottest places in the world are. So any countries which are along this line, can you see any? So we can see India, we can see Egypt, we can see Morocco, we can see Mexico. They are all very hot. Why? Do you remember something about the sun? The sun hits the most directly on these areas, so they are hotter. Where are the tropical zones? Remember we coloured in the map. So we're doing about the tropical zones today. Where are they found? And I'm going to put them in red too. That's right, they are found closest to the equator, so I'm going to put them on here. Oops. Around here. And here. So anywhere in between these two red lines, so along here and along here, are in the tropical zone. So they're going to have a very hot and very wet climate. What climate zone is found next? They're still close to the equator, but they're not as far. I'm going to do a yellow line. That gives you a clue. What place is a yellow? I'm actually going to move my lines a little bit further in. So I'm going to move this because my map's smaller. This is actually more like here. Let's put them here and here. So they're my tropical zones. Move this down a little bit, this down a little bit. What are the next ones? Still close to the equator, but they're not as hot and wet like the tropical zones. These are called the subtropical. Well done. So anything in this yellow bit here, so in between here and here. If you go closer, this is now the tropical bit. This is called the subtropical, where you get the dry, sandy deserts. After that, do you remember where we live? We don't live that close to the equator. I'm going to draw a line across here. So this is a big area. Huge. Yeah, I'm going to move it even further down. What are these areas called? And I've done them in green. They've got lots of wildlife and plants living there. Where do we live? In the temperate climate. Yeah, so all these places have more seasons. Doesn't really get super, super hot or super, super cold. In fact, I'm going to make this one a bit lower. There we go. So this is the temperate. So we've got nearest to the equator is called the tropical, good job. Then the subtropical, so dry and sandy deserts. Then the temperate, and the places furthest away from the equator, up here. Can you see where the Arctic Ocean is? All of this bit here. What's that going to be? And all of this bit down here below. I'm going to do it in blue, that's a clue. Shows it's very cold. It's the polar region. Fantastic. So the further you get away from the equator, it's all the way up here. Look how far we are. See if I can get my arrow to show you. Should have some arrows. Fantastic. So look how far away we are from the equator here and here. That means they have less direct sunlight, so they're very cold. Remember, places which are very close to the equator or very far away are extreme because they're either very what? Very hot or very cold. Today we're going to be learning about the extreme climate of the tropical zone, places that are very hot and very wet. These places include the rainforest. So rainforests are only really found, the very, very hot and wet ones, in the tropical areas. Can you see where they are? We've got a key here, so that tells us what the colours mean. And it says rainforest of the world. Can you pause the video and spot them? Point to them on the screen. That's right, we've got one here, got it here. Maybe you know the name of that one. It's the biggest rainforest in the world. We've got one here in Africa, got one here in South Africa, and we've got one here in Asia. Be very impressed if anyone knows the names of any of them. So this one is the Amazon rainforest. You can see it covers quite a lot here of South America. The one in Africa is called the Congo rainforest, and it has a huge river running through it. And this one here is the Southeast Asian rainforest. So all of this is Asia, and this is the East. Never eat shredded wheat. North, East, South, West. So here is East, and here is South. So because it's in between South and East, this is the Southeast, and it's in Asia, so it's the Southeast Asian rainforest. And animals like the Bengal tigers and king cobra snakes live here. So these are the main tropical rainforests. Have a look at these pictures. These are pictures taken from the Amazon rainforest. Can you see what it looks like? Maybe you can write down what you can see in some words to describe it. Pause the video and spend a few minutes doing that. Let's have a look. So you can see there's a huge river running through rainforests. Often on the floor of the rainforest, you've got lots and lots of river life there. So what animals could live in the river in the rainforest? Yeah, it might surprise you, but you can get things like fish living in here. River snakes can be quite dangerous. Lots of them are poisonous. And here again, you can see part of that running through with lots and lots of rocks. So the forest floor will be quite rocky. What about the top layers? Can you see how tall the trees are? If you were at the bottom of the rainforest, there would hardly be any light because the rainforest is like lots and lots of trees stuck together, so light can't get through. So it will be very, very dark in these layers here. And you can also see it's quite muddy on the forest floor. So dark and muddy here, and you get the very tall trees here. And can you see it looks like mist here? This is actually part of the humidity. Because it's so hot and rainy, it creates that kind of mist. Okay, we're going to watch a video about the rainforest to collect some facts. If you know any extra facts or would also like to watch the video that I've attached to your portfolio, which is the Rainforest Magic School Bus video, you can watch that to get some extra facts too. I would like you, before you watch the video, to draw the following table on a piece of paper. So you just get a piece of paper, draw 1, 2, 3 lines down, and then 1 line across. In the first bit, you need to write animals. So when we watch the video, write down any animals that you can see. Maybe you know some already. So I already saw, do you remember I wrote before? Bengal. It's not letting me write for some reason. Let's have another go. Bengal tigers in the Southeast Asia one. Bengal tigers. Oops, let me leave a space. And there were also, do you remember king cobra snakes? So I already know that. King cobra snakes. You can watch me doing this whilst you're drawing out your table if you like. If you know any animals already, definitely write them in. Plants and trees. So I'm going to say tall trees. at the top. You'll find out what that top layer is called later. Other landscape features. So I'm also going to write, I saw rivers, so I could write here. Oops. River. Here. Let me change that colour to blue so I don't confuse it with my column title. And I also saw large rocks. Large rocks. And it was quite muddy. And then any other facts you hear that don't fit into here, you can write here. Pause the video, copy out the table. Once you're ready, unpause. Okay, just going to skip ahead a little bit because we don't need all.
South America.
Ready? Okay, the sound will come on when we need that bit. So you can see here they've got the map that we looked at. So the tropical areas are around here, in between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. So areas near the equator where the sun hits directly.
Tropical and temperate.
Oops, sorry guys. Let's go back to there.
Rainforest, the largest rainforest found in South America, Africa and Asia. These are also known as Earth's lungs as they are responsible for about 1/3 of oxygen turnover. I also heard that tropical rainforests are also known as the world's largest pharmacy. Yeah.
What is a pharmacy? What would you go and buy in a pharmacy? Yeah, you would buy lots of medicine. So why is the rainforest called the world's largest pharmacy? There aren't pharmacy shops in there to go into, it's just nature. What do you think you can find in the rainforest?
Yes, you're right, because a lot of natural medicines have been discovered here. Okay, can you name a few major rainforests?
So lots of natural medicines have been found in the tropical rainforests. Why did the girls say they are the Earth's lungs? What do you think all the trees produce? That's right, the trees give out so much oxygen that the rainforests are important for the Earth to help everything survive.
The largest rainforest is Amazon rainforest in South America. It is the basin of River Amazon. This constitutes the largest collection of living plants and animal species in the world.
So it's got the most animals and plant species in the world. So in rainforest, you'll have very rare animals that you've never seen or maybe never even heard of.
Oh well, which one is the second biggest? Congo rainforest in Central Africa is the second biggest rainforest in the world. It is around the Congo River. Are there any more rainforests near the equator? Yes, there are rainforests in Southeast Asia also. So all these are tropical rainforests? Where are the temperate rainforests?
So we said earlier there were tropical rainforests, the ones that are very hot and wet. There are also temperate ones.
Temperate rainforests are found between tropic and polar circles of the globe. What is the difference between tropical?
So here, where they've just highlighted, you can get some temperate rainforest. Do you remember what temperate means? Oh, the temperate climate, it's what? Yeah, it doesn't have an extreme climate. It has seasons.
And temperate rainforest? Temperate rainforests have less rains, so they are less wet.
So less rain, less extreme. And you can see they've just been highlighted on the map.
But as they are closer to the poles, they are cooler than tropical rainforest. In my dream, when I was with Tarzan, I saw a monkey. What are the other animals in a forest?
We've just had an animal that you could add. What could you add? That's right, you could add monkey.
There are more types of animals in rainforest than any other place on the earth. Can you name a few? For that, first we need to understand the layers of the rainforest.
All that word layers come up. So the rainforest, like a cake, has different layers. It can be divided into different sections. Let's find out more about that and their names.
Layers of rainforest? Yeah, like we have layers in a burger. There are different types of plants and trees at different heights, and different types of animals live at different heights. So it is like different types of people living on different floors in our building? You are correct.
You might want to think of it just like the boy said, as different people living in different layers of a building. So if you live in a block of flats, Imagine each floor is a layer. So you have the top layer, a middle layer, a bottom layer, just like the rainforest.
Let me explain as per your example. Now look at this. Here is a building with 3 stories at the top. Oh, so many animals are peeping out of the windows.
Can you see what animals are peeping out of the windows? Have a look. Pause the video. So I can see butterflies here. I can see monkeys. I can see different types of birds. I can see bats.
Oh yeah, different types of animals live at different heights. Based on the height, a rainforest can be divided into 4 layers. Average
So we've got 4 layers.
height of the tree in a rainforest is about 30 to 40 meters. It means approximately the height of 20 persons standing above each other. Oh, yes.
So the average means most of the trees. So most of the trees will be at least 30 to 40 meters, which is like 20 people standing on top of each other.
But some of the tallest trees can go up to the height of 80 meters. That is equal to the height of 50 persons standing over each other.
So imagine how tall the top layer of trees would be, where the birds would live.
So, based on their height, we divide rainforests into 4 layers? That's correct. The names of these layers are forest floor, understory, canopy, and emergence.
Can you remember them? Forest floor. So do you remember that was quite where the river ran and where there were big rocks and it was quite muddy? Then we have the understory, where you'd have the smaller plants, the canopy, and then the emergent, which would have the taller trees. Imagine though, these tall trees block out all the light, so imagine how dark it would be on the forest floor and understory.
So, different animals live in different layers? Yes, look at this building. Different animals. Can you name these? On forest floor, there are gorillas, jaguars, and elephants. Lots of
You could add these animals now. You might also want to add the names of the layers. Where would the names of the layers go on your chart? That's right, it might go in landscape features or other facts. So you could write the names of the 4 layers in the other fact column of your table.
insects also live here. Now, look at the understory layer. There are butterflies, snakes, and frogs. Hey, I can see a sleeping sloth in a canopy layer and a lot of monkeys too. Most of the animals live here and it's too noisy. And on the top, in emergent layers, most of the birds are there. And so famous scarlet macaw also lives in this layer? Yes, with many of its friends like bats, eagles, etc. Can you tell something about trees and rainforest? Of course, here is an imaginary ladder and an
So here they've just got 4 different names. They call this the shrub level. So a shrub is a smaller plant. They have the under canopy, which is like the branches here you can see. Or you might even add in vines into your plant section. The canopy and then the emergent.
imaginary rainforest. The height of rainforest is written on different steps. Do we need to climb? Yes, but let's first see what lies at the bottom. The forest floor is also known as shrub layer. It is dark and gloomy with very little vegetation between the trees.
Oh, so she just said what? She said it was dark and gloomy with very little vegetation. We saw vegetation when we did our subtropical lesson. Vegetation is another word for plants. So you could write in your plant column, very few plants on the forest floor level. You could also write dark and gloomy in the forest floor level for your extra facts.
During heavy rainfalls, this area can get flooded.
So it can get flooded because it's on the forest floor. So when the rain falls, it will flow across the land at the bottom.
The second layer is under canopy, right?
So we can call this under canopy or understory.
Yes, the under canopy is the second level up. Very limited sunlight reaches here. Saplings wait here for larger trees to die, leaving a gap in the canopy which they can grow into. Now comes the third layer, canopy. The canopy is where the upper parts of most roof-like structure over the forest, thus blocking all the sunlight.
So these trees in the canopy make like a roof over the rest of the rainforest. So you could add that into plants. The canopy plants make a roof which block out the light for all the plants down here. So the plants down here have to wait for one of these trees to die to take its place.
It is usually dark in the forest due to this layer. Oh, the merchants are at the top of the tallest trees in the rainforest. These are much higher, and that is why they are able to get more light than the average trees in the forest canopy. Okay, now we have seen all layers. Let's go back. Now you know all about rainforests, their location, animals, and types of trees. Anything else you want to know? I have a wish. Can you take me to the rainforest with Tarzan? Oh, is that all? Here we go. Wow, now I know that Tarzan leaps from one tree to another with help of liana vines. Yeah, these are not ropes. Hey, look! A sloth! Do they keep sleeping?
Can you see how big these leaves are? Why do you think they're so big? So the further down you go into the rainforest, the bigger the leaves. Why? What do they have to do? Yeah, these leaves are bigger so they can catch more sunlight. There wouldn't be that much sunlight, but any sunlight that comes through the gap, the leaves would want to catch them. So you could talk about the leaves in the rainforest being very large to catch the sun.
Whole day? A sloth sleeps for 18 hours in a day.
Oh, did you hear that fact? A sloth sleeps for 18 out of 24 hours a day. You might add that into your animal facts.
See that langur? Langur use their tail to hang. Thank you, Tarzan. Please take us back after some time. Wow, this tree has a very big stem. Oh, these are roots. Rainforests have a shallow layer of fertile soil, so trees only need shallow roots to reach their nutrients. However, shallow roots can't support huge rainforest trees, so trees develop huge buttress roots. These stretch from the ground to 2 meters or more up the trunk. Hey, it's
So very, very large roots to hold the trees up.
dark in here. I know it is due to a canopy of trees. Yes, let me do something.
So she's shooting holes in the canopy layer to show how much light the canopy layer blocks out.
Oh, some sunlight is coming. So now you know almost everything about rainforest. Should we go back? Okay, guys. Bye.
Okay, you might want to spend a few minutes adding to your facts. Before we go through that together, we're going to revise the canopy layers. So this is an example of a rainforest. Do you remember what the layers were called? What was the bottom layer called? Where you had the river flowing, where it's very muddy, you'd have lots and lots of dead leaves and rotting things, because any trees that die would end up here. What do we call it? That's right, the forest floor. The next one, which is this section here, so I'm going to actually put a line across so you can see where it goes. So forest floor goes up to here. What's the next layer called? It's called the understory or the under canopy. Good job. After that, we've got the canopy. This is where most animals live. It's got the most trees and the most kind of leaves here. So most animals will be very noisy here because you'd have all the monkeys as well, some of the birds. So this one is called the canopy, and the top layer where you have trees sticking out is called the emergent layer, but the canopy is like a roof which blocks the sunlight here, so it'll be very dark here. And we can see each one. Can you see what lives in each layer? So you've got the birds and the butterflies and lots of different fruits growing and bright flowers in the canopy layer. Emergent layer, you've got like parrots here, you've even got a waterfall. In the understory, can you see what's coiling around the branches here. You've got snakes, you've also got poisonous dart frogs. Pause if you want to note those down. You would also have vines in the canopy layer where animals could swing from, like monkeys. And in the bottom layer, let's make this a bit bigger. What can you see here? Yeah, again, you can see snakes, some insects, really long, powerful roots. Add those to your table now. I'm going to add a few in to help you, but take some more time and add your own. So I heard lots of animals. I heard, if you need some help, you can add my ones. I saw monkeys. I saw poison dart frogs, parrots, bats. Do you remember the sloths in the canopy layer as well? Sloths. And on the forest floor, there would be lots of insects. Oops, let's have a go at doing that again. And if you've watched the Magic School Bus video, there were also lots of ant eaters, which would also be on the forest floor understory, where they look for ants. Ant eaters. Okay, you might have extra ones. Feel free to add those if you would like. Plants and trees. Tall trees at the top. I might add in here all the layers. Canopy. Layer.